Hey there, how's it going? We're halfway through and we're ready to find our unique carb tolerance. Yay! The first 2 weeks, we got all the starchy carbs out, all the sugar out, some of the caffeine out. So you should be feeling lighter and more free and happier. So let me know how you're doing. Let me know how you're feeling. So put a comment in the Facebook group or put a comment here in the course. So let's talk about unique carb tolerance. And we're going to talk about how to find your unique carb tolerance. You may not have any idea what I'm talking about, but I'm going to explain it. Let's see. So as we've already discussed, the key to finding what works for your unique metabolism when it comes to carbs, that's what your carb tolerance is, and it's relative. There is not a one size fits all approach like many of the dietary theories that are out on the market right now. Some say you eat as little carbs as possible. Some say you limit your carbs to so many per meal. Well, carbs are relative and you need carbs for your energy. So we're going to find your unique carb tolerance. And I just want to say too that your unique carb tolerance is going to change, and it could change daily, monthly, different times of life. So we'll be talking about that too. And again, there is not a one size fits all approach. Carb tolerance is entirely relative. So the secret to find your unique carb tolerance is by tuning into your body and what your body is telling you. So to find your UCT, you will experiment with different carbs and serving sizes. By carbs, I mean starchy vegetables, high sugar fruits, pseudo grains such as quinoa and buckwheat, and legumes and beans. So what do I mean by tune into your symptoms? So before we go over the protocol of how to find your UCT, you first need to tune into your body and listen to what it's telling you. Your symptoms matter, regardless of what your lab tests say. Your hunger levels change. Cravings, energy, moods, and sleep are all clues on how stable or not your blood sugar is. So one of the first clues to pay attention to is your hunger levels. Your appetite is regulated by your blood sugar levels and the hormones insulin and cortisol. If you have a ravenous appetite, I mean, you're just starving, your blood sugar may be rising too fast after meals. But say you feel fine after eating, but then you start to feel hangry and tired between meals. Your blood sugar may be too low between meals. Now, we're not jumping to any conclusions. We're just taking note of the feelings. It's your food cravings. The primary cause of food cravings is changes in your blood sugar levels. When your blood sugar changes, your body responds by craving a specific food group to compensate. Insulin and cortisol are the main hormones responsible for regulating blood sugar levels, making them one of the primary underlying triggers behind food cravings. Your energy levels. Fatigue or low energy, particularly after eating, is another sign of blood sugar imbalance. blood sugar imbalance puts stress on your body's organs and hormones, especially the adrenal glands, and it increases cortisol production. If you are tired, but eating makes you more energized, your blood sugar may be dropping too much between meals. Your moods. Imbalanced blood sugar causes an imbalanced mood swings. Blood sugar imbalance can make you feel nervous, anxious, irritable, jittery. Some studies suggest that depression and anxiety are also linked to blood sugar imbalance. And this makes perfect sense as the brain runs primarily on glucose, which is the sugar in your blood. Your sleep. Both insulin and cortisol influence your sleep patterns. What you eat today will have an impact on how you sleep tonight. If you've been over-carbing, for example, you will have high energies, or you will have energy highs and lows. Energy fluctuations typically lead to more carbs, and usually more caffeine too, which then raises insulin and cortisol, and ultimately your sleep is disrupted. And because poor sleep can cause problems with blood sugar control, it creates a vicious cycle. So here is the 14-day carb testing schedule. Once a day for the next 2 weeks, we're going to test one carb, and here they are named. So at lunch on day 15, we're going to be testing chickpeas, and you can see what this is. And this is also printed in the recipe guides. It's also printed in a separate handout, and it's in the program guide. So I'm not going to read through everyone, but once a day for the next 14 days, starting in week 3, 15 days, 15 through 28, we're going to be testing these. So what I want you to do when you test is check in with yourself. And so I'm going to explain what I mean in the next part, but you will need to be using your food journal to keep track of it, what you ate, and then anything that comes up. So after your meals, if you have symptoms, if you crave more food or more carbs, and you can't satisfy your craving, or you feel tired 30 minutes after eating, these are signs that you overshot your unique carb tolerance. So you want to mark that meal as one that you want to test again. But the next time, try reducing the carbs serving size to a 1/4 cup and see how you do. If adjusting your carb servings didn't help, this may not be the right carb for your body at this time. And I'll explain why that could be later on in this presentation. Between meal symptoms. On the other hand, if you felt fine after eating, but 1 to 2 hours later, you became overly hungry, lightheaded, cranky, irritable, or headachy, this carb or the serving size of the carb did not work well for you. So again, mark this meal and you want to retest it again later. But the next time, slightly increase the amount of protein. If increasing the protein amount does not help, then test it again and increase your carbs serving size. If this does not relieve the issue, this may not be the right carb for your body at this time. And so it's totally fine to read the signs that your body is telling you, and I highly recommend it. And if you use a glucometer, you can also use a glucometer, or you can do both. If you don't trust your feelings and you want to use your glucometer, you can feel what you're feeling and then test it on a glucometer. This is what gives the reading of how what your blood sugar is. You can purchase a glucometer at most drugstores and online. I mean, they're everywhere. So you just follow the manufacturer's instructions and keep track of your results for a couple of weeks. I'll be glad to help you with that if you've never used one before. If you're used to using the glucometer, then you already know what to do. So to begin, you begin by preparing the test meal as in the previous instructions, and then you take your blood sugar measurement at the start of the meal before your first bite. And then you take it again 1 hour later, and you take it again 2 hours later. And there's more information about this in the guide, but you're looking at particular numbers here if you are using a glucometer, because you don't want it to go up too much. And you'll know that either by the serving size or the type of the carb, but you're also going to know it better by your feelings. And I really want you to tune in to what your body's signs are telling you, because it'll serve you much better than a glucometer. Because there are times when you don't have your meter with you, and a lot of things going on, or a glucometer can be off 15 points either way. So it's always better to tune into what your body's telling you, because over time, lower and lower numbers are going to feel better for you, but not too low. So then continue testing. Testing for carb tolerance may seem a bit daunting at first, but once you train yourself to listen to your body, you'll soon be able to tell exactly what works and does not work. Without testing, you'll eat something and you'll know exactly how well your body handled it. This is an essential skill because carb tolerance can change as we age, or during hormone shifts, or if you didn't get enough sleep, if you're under a lot of stress, and other times in life, such as perimenopause or menopause. And some carbs just don't work. Some carbs seem to mess with your blood sugar regardless of how you test them. Gluten carbs, for example, have inflammatory proteins and insulin-increasing carbohydrates. According to Dr. William Davis, best-selling author of the book Wheat Belly, I don't know how to pronounce this, amylopectin is worse than sugar. It's worse than sugar in its capacity to raise insulin. And I can tell you this is true because I've experienced it. It causes insulin resistance and leads to diabetes. It could actually be worse than sugar. Dairy can also be problematic for some people because it leads to similar insulin response as high sugar carbs. Lactose is the sugar in dairy products, and it ends in OSE, which is a sugar. So if you observe your reactions after eating it, you'll gain valuable insight into how your body reacts to it. You may find you do okay with fermented dairy, such as yogurt or goat cheese, but not with unfermented cow's milk. So test different types of dairy products and see what you can tolerate. If you're not finding your unique carb tolerance because you react poorly to all the carbs you're testing, then you want to investigate further. So you may have something that's called leaky gut, which is very common, actually. Leaky gut is the common name, or gut permeability. It's when your gut barrier has been compromised in allowing molecules to escape the gut into the bloodstream. If your gut is leaky, finding foods you can tolerate can be tricky. While it's tempting to start eliminating the foods from your diet, the better solution is to fix your gut. One of the recommendations I have is take a digestive enzyme with your meals that has HCl, glutamine, or bone broth, or vegetarian collagen. And I can explain more about how to use these if this is something that you think you need. Reducing your stress and identifying food sensitivities will also help. Histamine intolerance could be a factor, especially if you have estrogen imbalances. Along with fixing your gut and reducing histamine foods, many find it helpful to take quercetin 30 minutes before eating. Infections, gut infections such as Candida, Lebo and SIBO, which is large and small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, and gut dysbiosis are often involved. Now, we're not jumping to conclusions. I'm just naming some of the things that could be going on. Biggies in these days are food allergies, intolerances, and sensitivities. And they're all three different things. When we eat foods, we are reactive to, not speaking here of carbs, it triggers inflammation. It leads to the first thing we talked about, leaky gut. So if you suspect you have food allergies or sensitivities, ask your doctor for the food allergies test and ask separately for the food sensitivity test. They're testing two different things. And most doctors don't usually check for the food sensitivity test. They only do the allergy test. And then there's also Everlywell has an at-home food sensitivity test kits that you can look on their website to find. And for intolerances, I have a link on my resources page at TamiJerseyRoberts.com. Click on the resources tab, and there's a link there if you want to do at-home food intolerance testing. So if this seems like it's a really big issue with you, it's definitely a good idea to get tested for all three of these: food allergies, intolerances, and sensitivities. And as your gut heals, these are going to change and hopefully get better. So that's a wrap for this, finding your unique carb tolerance. And so if you do need any help, or you're just confused and you're not sure really what to do, I'd be happy to answer any questions and help you the best I can. Thank you.